Good day to you, Jason here, Birchfield Family Farm. We're just west of Oxford, Ohio, running grass-fed Red Devon cattle, St Croix sheep and chickens in a rotational grazing system. I have an encouraging word for you today. This comes from Psalm 25. Show me your ways, O Lord, teach me your paths. Guide me in your truth and teach me, for you are God, my Savior, and my hope is in you all day long. Remember, O Lord, your great mercy and love, for they are from of old. Okay, we have a rainy one here today on the farm. Just over an inch of rain in the past 12 hours here. Man, we needed it. But pretty dreary day here. Not really clipping 60 degrees. So high 50s and a little bit of wind coming out of the west today. We're gonna try a video here. I try and get you guys out about one a week if I can, and I'm due here. And I wanna answer some questions today from you guys. I had some sheep questions come in. Wanna talk about a crop that we've grown here, never had a failure. We've been doing this crop for 16 years. It's never failed, but what does that crop have to do with our sheep, potentially? And then I also want to answer the most asked question of all time here on the channel. So I want to dig into those things today. We'll head around, do a sheep move, and take a look at what's going on. First question I got this week was from username Jen Monty. Do you let your rams be with ewes and lambs that are still nursing? If so, how long? Jen, we definitely do not put our rams in with mamas either when we're lambing or when they're still nursing. Rams, in our system here, rams get pulled off right when we start to lamb. And that usually is mid-April around here, but I'll pull them off just a little bit before that. And the reason for that is with rams, we're always watching rams. When you're in with rams, I never turn my back on rams. I always carry a spray bottle to kind of keep them off of us. And I don't want to give the impression that our rams are aggressive. They're not, but rams, they headbutt. That's what they do, at least healthy rams. And, when we're lambing, I need to be out there. We keep eyes on mamas, and so we want to make sure every 20 minutes when mamas are actively lambing that I see progress. I want to see some kind of progress every 20 minutes, and so we're constantly having to monitor that during lambing, keep an eye on everybody, and having to watch rams in addition to that. Just not a fit. So we pull them off at lambing in April before lambing. And then separate them for the entire summer, and they don't go back in until, right about now. We're about a week away from putting rams back in for breeding season here, 5 months gestation. And so, mid-November, rams, putting them in typically gives us tax day, mid-April lambing. Okay, next question. Bryce in Texas wants to know, do you have any shelter in your paddocks for sheep? Again, definitely not. No shelter out here. That was one of the things with our animals when we started this in a regenerative system here. We've got to have hardy stock. They stay out all winter long. I was telling somebody the other day, we had one winter, I think it was 2 winters ago, we hit negative 33 degrees with the wind chill, and everybody's out, okay? And they did fine. We did sometimes if we get an extreme situation like that, we've got this 3-sided barn here. I can kind of put the net so they can have a wind block in a very extreme situation like that. But they're not in a structure, and definitely nothing out here on the paddocks. They've got to be able to be hardy enough to be out all year long on their own, and not horsing around with shelters. So both of those questions, hard nose. Might not be what you want to hear, but that's the way it is here. I try and shoot straight with you guys. Looking over here, we have cattle and rams out here in this windmill pasture. The rented area here, that's where they are. We had rented cattle here as the wind picks up and the rain comes on here. But the rented stock are gone now for the winter. And so we've been putting out a little bit of hay here and letting these guys munch down on some of just the green, very short stuff here. But we need to put some hay out to these guys here and then head back and do a move on the ewes. Before we do that though, I took some footage yesterday of this crop that we put in every year this time of year. Never had it fail in 16 years. What does that have to do with sheep? I'll go ahead and roll that footage now. Then we'll head back on ewes and talk about the most asked question that we get here. Okay, I wanted to show you guys this 16 years of farming this crop, and it has never failed for us. Mighty garlic. The mighty garlic head here. Those heads break down into what we call cloves. We'll put one of these in the ground. This is the root side. Put it like this, we'll show you that. And then this will turn into this. So the way we like to do this is get our holes drilled with just a regular battery powered drill. And I think it's a 3-inch auger, I think. And then I do actually fill the holes in just a bit and get your clove and put your clove in just like that, just a few inches from the top. And then we're gonna go right over that with some really good compost. So this is a pile of that really good cow manure mixed with that old hay. I mean, look at this stuff, just phenomenal. And now we'll get some of this in the bucket here and put that right over top of our clove, right like that. Leave it all winter, and this is gonna grow over the winter into and through spring. And then you'll have what are called garlic scapes you can harvest, cook with those. But usually June, late June. The leaves will start to die back, and then you know that it's ready to be dug and harvested. And you can absolutely save these then for the next year, or for the same year for fall planting. And so you've got a closed loop system there. I've been growing this stuff. This is German extra hardy. The stuff that we like the best is called music variety though. It's a different variety, but with having sheep, I'm very interested in another form of parasite control when we need it, which is mainly for our cull sheep that we're gonna turn into meat. You know, you guys have seen some of our videos maybe on natural parasite control with sheep, and of course our St Croix are naturally parasite resistant. Doesn't mean they're completely immune, and so sometimes we get a sheep here and there that just they struggle. I'm gonna break this down while we're talking here. You can kind of see how these heads break into cloves, but you know, having something another line of defense for the sheep I think would be valuable, especially when it's something that we can make in-house. And garlic juice. I've been reading some studies on garlic juice, and that looks to be pretty promising. Some of the studies indicating that higher weights, really because of the lower fecal egg counts to sheep that are administered garlic juice. Basically, it means just taking in some cloves, running those through a food processor, and then straining off the juice. About a teaspoon per sheep is all it takes. You guys know we're a big fan of Molly's Herbals here. We don't use any chemical dewormer, but that kind of begs the question sometimes of, well, what do you do when you get a sheep that just isn't thriving? Most of ours do, especially if they're breeding stock. They thrive on their own without any kind of treatment, but you get one that struggles, and it's like it's kind of you know, inhumane to just let it suffer. And so I think we've had some luck with some of the natural remedies. Molly's Herbals, Sericea lespedeza. There's studies out on that you can feed that in a pellet form. We've purchased that before through New Country Organics, selling that by the 50-pound bag. But I'd really like something in-house that we can use and administer. And I think, you know, having this plus garlic is just super healthy, really useful. Mama uses this in her bone broth. You know, we do the meat birds, meat chickens, and then put those in a crock pot, eat the meat, just leaves the carcass in there, and then mixes in some apple cider vinegar, garlic, and onions, and really good stuff, and makes just an awesome bone broth. And we've got that bone broth on hand all year long. She cans that for us, and great for soups and stock and everything else. But this is kind of the way we do it here. So this is just right out in the pasture. You know, there's the pond over there, and we just got a little area roped off around a tree here. I guess you could call it pasture cropping, you know, just growing this right in now the grass will grow up, you know, with the garlic. And you know, you can cut, you know, mow around if you want. We really don't do a whole lot of that, and just come out and harvest the garlic. When you harvest it, save the heads that are the biggest, with the biggest cloves. Save those and replant those, and then use the smaller ones for your you know, whatever cooking or consuming. And that seems to be a pretty good system year after year for doing garlic, but never had a garlic crop fail. Just in our area here, it just, nothing bothers it in terms of predation, and just have never had a crop fail. Always been a success for us here with garlic. So if you do need to start with buying heads originally, I can recommend Keene, K-E-E-N-E, Keene garlic. I think you can go through Baker Creek. I believe they're at rareseeds.com. Either one of those is going to get you a quality, off to a quality start, and then just save them. Save them every year, replant, and pretty cool closed loop system here on the farm. Okay, so that study on garlic extract there, that was published in Virginia Journal of Science, volume 61, if you want to look that up. If I remember, I'll put a link to that in the video description. Here's a couple charts from that study. Pretty interesting here. First one having to deal with weight, the weight of the animal here. And you can see, look at that garlic extract and you know, of course, the control group there. But the ivermectin and that, you know, the garlic extract keeping pace there with ivermectin. And then also this chart on fecal egg counts. Pretty interesting. Of course, we're told here that threshold for, you know, when you need to treat, I believe it's 1,500 eggs per gram on the fecal egg counts. But garlic extract looks to be pretty promising solution here. Again, the goal being to stay away from those chemical dewormers. All right, so we got some hay out to these boneheads here. Kind of a double-edged sword this time of year, because we sowed that overwintering mix over on the paddocks. Paddock 8, 9, 10, and 11. We sowed that overwintering mix. We did that in anticipation for early spring grazing for the very pregnant ewes in the month of March, and I think that's going to be a fit. The only problem with that is we could have been continuing to run through the paddocks over there, and we had to pull these guys off. That seed is just now starting to come on, and we got some pretty good stands, especially with this inch of rain here last night. That'll help, but I'm just not gonna put the cattle and the rams on it this time of year. I think we'll have a better stand if I can keep them off of it. So out here feeding the hay, you know, that's the price we pay. Okay, so we'll walk and talk here as we head back to ewes. Ewes are back here. We ran them. We finished up running them through the swale. Again, just a great success this year doing that. You take a look at this shot here. Just came, you know, I used the electronets and then came behind them with a pretty simple just a little push trimmer thing, and cleaned up the scragglers. Took a brush cutter blade out on a weed eater basically, and cut down the little saplings. You know, we don't want those growing up in the waterway. And kind of came behind them and cleaned things up and got out of there before the rain hit last night. We've got them over on the side of the hayfield. We are grazing fence rows, and this is another practice we've done. And we talked about this. We just, as regenerative farmers, we've got to learn to use small farmers. At least we are here. We got to learn to use every nook and cranny that we have on our place, and that's what we're trying to do here. Not necessarily grazing the hayfield. We can't do that, but fence rows. Man, those fence rows have grown up all season long. Nobody's been on them, and I tell you, the sheep really do well. Okay, so as we walk and talk here, the most asked question I get on the channel by far is this: how many sheep can I graze or can I run per acre? And I tell you, it is such a difficult question. That's probably one of the most loaded questions in all of agriculture, right? How many sheep or even cattle, animals, how many animals can I run, can I graze per acre in my system here? And matter of fact, you may be receiving this link to this video if you ask me this question in the future, because I cannot respond to everybody in all of their unique situations. I cannot hand tailor messages to everybody that asks this question. So if you're receiving this, no offense, nothing personal. It's just I can't get to everybody that asks this. And so I'm going to attempt an answer here. And as usually is the case with complex biological systems, when you pose a question, it creates more questions. So as you're asking this question, here are the two questions that come to my mind. Number one, what is the carrying capacity of your land? And number two, how involved do you want to be in the grazing system? So number one, carrying capacity, what does that mean? Just that's a zoomed out picture, right? It's a zoomed out figure. In generally speaking, how many animal units can your land handle per grazing season? Okay, is carrying capacity. When we talk about stocking density or stocking rate, we're kind of zooming in. That's typically, like pounds per acre animals that we're grazing. And so carrying capacity, I always tell folks, the problem with this question, generally speaking, is that you get a hold of me and you're in another part of the country, like around here. And just to step back for a second, an animal unit is 1,000-pound cow, typically with a catheter side. We'll just say 1,000 pounds of animal is what we'll say here for the sake of this video. That is one animal unit. And so you have to have a consistent measure to be able to talk about this. So when I talk animal unit, I'm talking about 1,000 pounds of animal. Now, out in Wyoming, you need something like, I was reading the other day, 5 acres to support one cow in Wyoming, okay? Here in my part of Ohio, it's recommended just a standard carrying capacity of one animal unit or one cow per acre through the grazing season. That's what our ground here can support. Now, zooming into that, you have all kinds of variability even within that, even within just our Ohio area here, right? What's your soil organic matter, for instance, right? Dave Brandt up around central Ohio had a soil organic matter of about 8%, and we're about 3% here, which 3% is not, it's not hateful, but it's certainly not as high as we could be, and we're wanting to continue to build that up. And so, we know for each percent of soil organic matter we go up, our land can hang on to an additional 20,000 gallons of water per acre. That's huge. And so that's going to definitely make a difference in how much forage we can grow, the quality. We've arrived back here to the use. But soil organic matter, that's a question there. Just in general, you've got all kinds of variability too within your growing season. Are you in drought? Are you having a good? But to make it simple, I always tell folks, get a hold of a local extension office or talk to a local farmer that is just running a standard set stock grazing operation and find out what is, just generally speaking, what is the carrying capacity of your ground, turning animals out for the grazing season. What does the land in your area, what does that support? Okay, you have to start with an answer or some kind of a figure to that question first. So I always tell folks, if you do want to rotate, if you do want to be involved to the max and max out your productivity per acre, I always tell folks, start with that standard carrying capacity. Okay, start there because you just don't know. There's going to be a learning curve in the beginning. Start conservative, okay, and then work your way up. And I think just to understand some theory too, as we talk about this, looking at a chart, this is called Mott's curve, and we've talked about this before. Geo Mott, he was at a University of Florida, but he developed this curve here, and it really kind of, it helped me anyway to kind of understand this relationship between gain per acre and gain per head on the animal side. And you can see gain per acre here is in green, gain per head is in red. And so what this is telling us, you see the performance there on the left, you've got stocking rate on the bottom. Now I added an arrow there at the very bottom, and that's labor, and that's just my add. That's just what I think happens as we go out on the stocking rate. I do think, our labor increases because we're going to be rotating, right? We're going to have more involvement, and that's going to require more labor on our part. But the interesting thing about this chart is they're saying, Geo Mott here is saying that your optimal stocking rate is right in where that green curve crosses that red curve. That's going to be optimal, right? And so that's kind of what we're after. I have some varying thoughts on this. I think this is accurate, in the beginning. I think as you continue to run animals in a set stock grazing system, though, the performance there is going to continue to decline because you have selective grazing. Okay, but generally speaking, look at this chart and look at, let's say you just had, let's use some extreme examples. Okay, so stock, our 20 acres or our 50 acres here or whatever, stock that with one cow. Okay, put one cow on it. What's going to happen? Well, you're going to have an insane amount of selective grazing, but that cow is going to be in ultra great shape. Just more, I shouldn't say ultra great shape. It'll probably be overweight. But it has lots of forage to select from, and that animal can self-select, and so your animal performance is just going to be through the roof, right? You're going to be at maximum animal performance there, but the rub there is look at gain per acre in green. You're going to be virtually nothing on your gain per acre, right? And so that's not an optimal long-term system. And so if you look to the left of where these two lines cross, you're really under grazing, right? And then you go out to the right, and you're really more of an overgrazed type of situation. So, where I really see folks getting miffed, and this is me included in the beginning, right, is try and tell somebody with all the work and the labor they're putting in that, you could have better animal performance if you just set stock grazed and turned them out. Talk about getting miffed, but it's true for a time, okay? And then once everything is selectively grazed down, you guys have seen our system up front. Comparing the set stock grazed area to our rotational grazed area, in the early spring, I won't even say that. It's very, very weedy in the selectively grazed area. You have to mow, you have to bush hog in the selectively grazed area. You have to go behind the animals periodically and mow. In our rotational grazing system, there was no mowing. Okay, and so that's another kind of caveat here on the labor side as well, something to keep in mind. But generally speaking, I do believe this curve, there is some truth to this curve, and it kind of gives us an understanding of, animal, point here is animal performance and gain per acre are not the same thing. Okay, and so there's a balance between the two, and that is the art. That is the art. This is art. Learning a system, how to maximize your gain per acre but also care for your livestock in a great way. And I do believe, you know, rotating animals is very healthy. It's the best for the ground, I believe. But in terms of livestock, you know, what is our checks and balances there? Well, to me, it always comes back to, are your animals reproducing? And if your animals aren't getting enough, if you don't have an adequate system and you're overgrazing, they're going to tell you that because they won't breed back. That's exactly what will happen. And so that's kind of your checks and balances there. But, you know, all this too ties into Andre Voisin's research from the 1950s. I get blue in the face talking about this, but we have absolutely, this is checked out for us here in our system. We've seen this, right? I'll throw this chart up here, Andre Voisin, maximizing your productivity here. Okay, he figured out it's 18 days rotation in spring, okay? You've got to be cutting that forage, letting it regrow. If you want to maximize utilization, it's 18 days in spring. You've got to double that in the fall. Okay, and we've absolutely seen that. And I think just, you know, that holds true for our latitude. Again, you know, I don't know where you are, if that's going to be true for you. I think generally speaking, yes, you will need twice the rest as you need in the fall as you need in spring. But what this is based on is something that we can count on every year, and it comes back to daylight, right? So in summer solstice, you know, we've got almost 15 hours of daylight that we can count on. It's going to be that way every year, regardless of what the weather's doing. Winter solstice, we get down to about 9 hours and 22 minutes. And so we know, you know, based on what's going on, stuff that does not change, we've got more daylight in the spring and early summer. And then that fades as we go through fall. I think in our area, it also has to do with moisture. I mean, most certainly, we're getting a lot of moisture in the spring as well. And so everything's just exploding in the spring. So tighten up that rotation. But when you design your system, when you're trying to answer that question, how many animals, you need to design for the fall. Okay, and we've talked about that before. But design your system for the fall when you need the maximum amount of rest. Okay, and then in the spring, you've got extra areas, right? If you're only rotating every 18 days, you're either moving them really fast, that's going to be good for them, or, you know, just take part of your system and, you know, harvest the other part. Harvest it for silage, haylage, or hay. Do hay on the other part of your system. You know, that's when you're doing silage or hay, you're cutting that forage and then allowing it to regrow, and so you're going to be maximizing that gain per acre, okay, is what you're going to be doing there. But again, we can push too hard on that. When we do, nobody breeds back. And so that's kind of how we know. That's kind of how I approach this question. I think I've had people from Zimbabwe, you know, reach out, hey, how many sheep can I run? I have no idea. Okay, I have no idea, but you're going to get this video if you send me that question, okay? Okay, back here on the sheep, we're on the side of the hayfield here. Man, they have got this just absolutely annihilated. Look at even the leaves and everything are eaten up just above their height. Look at that. The fence rows here, when we purchased the farm, none of the fence rows were clean. They had trees in them already. I would love to clean these up. I think if you had, look at her, she's covered in burrs. You know, that just tells you they've been into the fence row there. But I think, you know, point here is you could absolutely use sheep to clean up and keep clean your fence rows. If you wanted to keep, you know, trees and brush and crud out of them, you know, we just got the electronet on the side here and just running them down and, you know, giving them a little bit. They've got a little bit of the hayfield here. That's just so that we can run our nets so our nets aren't grounding out. I can't run my nets through that high stuff. But, you know, you can see if you wanted to keep a fence row clean, rotating these guys through here, you're making meat, milk, and more lambs off of you know, fence row crud. I mean, this is like that swale over there, you know, that's like ditch grass, right? I mean, using the ditches and the fence rows and the nooks and crannies. I mean, that's really, that's what we've got to get back to here. And that's what we're trying to do here on the farm. And point is, I think if you had a clean fence row to start with, I think you could maintain it and make some meat at the same time with these sheep. Okay, so I am by myself today, so this is going to be tricky here. I need to get them moved down. Now I have 264-foot electro nets. You know what, while we're talking about electro nets, these are 35 inches high. It has been a trial and error for us on these nets. 164 feet, they get really, really heavy. This is our favorite electro net right here. And I'll go ahead and put up a shot of, just a screenshot from Premier One, 164 foot long, 35 inch high, I believe, double spike here. I'll put up our favorite one. I'm not affiliated with Premier, just what we've come to like. And if I was going to do a sheep operation, I would have a bunch of these nets. We've never had a sheep go over top of these, and they're narrow. The squares are narrow enough to keep lambs in. Okay, when we lamb, and they're light enough where I can move them. I don't know, some of you, I don't know if you've dealt with the chicken nets. Oh my goodness, trying to move those. You know, the spacing is so close together. They're just so heavy, trying to move those around, and really gets to be a drag after a while. And so using these here, yeah, I'll give you that item number or whatever here so you can enjoy these as well. Okay, so 2 of these nets here. How am I going to do this by myself? I got a little bit of a plan here. We disconnected the fence. I'm going to get in here and run them. Got them all the way enclosed in the far net. So we'll use one net here that's not electrified to temporarily close them in. And then let's get this other net cleaned up, and we'll put it right on the other side, and we'll open that up and get them moved. Okay, so new fence is set up here. Still got them contained in that old one. Little trick here, when you set up your new one, move your old one a little bit back, and then where they've grazed, you know, you can run that new one so that you're not grounding out on the tall stuff, rather than use a weed eater to let the sheep do the work for you. And then all it becomes about is opening this up and letting them in to the new section. Oh yeah, we're happy. I had them on that other section a little bit too long. You can see we're kind of getting down to the dirt there. That's not good. We just couldn't make it back until today. But oh yeah, good stuff. And then go ahead, you know, once you have them on this new section, they're really not going to challenge fences because they have the new stuff. So go ahead and button your fence back up on this side, then take your other electronet and go to the far side, hook that up, and then hook your electric fence up, and you're good. Okay, and then one other trick, you have them contained in that first net. You have the second net you're ready to set up. Before you move them, stretch that net all the way out in line and see where it ends up, and make a mark there, and then put your first post right there where you made that mark. And so we're going to go down with the second net and fully enclose it up against the fence. Then we'll undo that and give them access, but the two nets will hook together beautifully. Then once your fence is set up, pound your ground rods in, hook your controller to your grounds, the other side to your fence, hook it up to battery. I'll wiggle it a little bit just because it's been wet, we're getting rusty, and you should see and hear that ticking. Good to go. I am not a fan of the solar grazing setups. That battery, that old car battery, will last me like a month. Okay, so even having 2 car batteries, swapping them out, we'll take that thing up sometimes during the day, just put a charge on it once a month. We're not really back here, but 6 to 8 weeks. So how many sheep per acre? St Croix sheep, when they're full grown, the ewes are about 120 pounds. The rams are around 160 on average. And so if I were to start again on our little 5-acre system, I would stock that with no experience. I'd stock it at the standard set stock rate, or just the standard carrying capacity, which is 1 animal unit per acre. So I would start with about 40 full-grown ewes on those 5 acres. Now with our system here, I know from experience with cattle and sheep on this, we were running about 12,000 pounds of live weight animal, but we were doing that on quarter-acre paddocks, and so I know we were about 48,000 pounds of live weight animal per acre. That's like kind of like stocking rate, like we were talking about. And so if I were to start with this system with just sheep, I would start with the 40, but you know, you need to dial in your paddock size as well. And what we found here through experience, and this will also be congruent with what Joel Salatin suggests, is that if you want rapid improvement in your ground, you need to be at about 50,000 pounds of live weight animal per acre. So that's another parameter here. So I would start with 40 ewes, 120 pound ewes, but I would also have a goal based on what I've seen here. We can run between 2 and 3 times the conventional stocking rate and maximizing productivity. And so I would have a goal. I'd start with 40 ewes, and I'd have a goal to get up to 80, even north of 80. Say we're running quarter-acre paddocks. That's how we size things. 40 ewes, you're going to be at 20,000 pounds of live weight animal. So we know we're probably going to have to mow behind them. That stocking density is not high enough. You know, where we were at around 50,000 pounds and did not bush hog, did not mow. Now, granted, that was also with multi-species grazing on our system here. But, you know, 80 ewes, getting up to that at 120 pounds a piece, that's going to put you around, I believe, 40,000 pounds, maybe just under. And, you know, you're going to be coming close to that, especially if you got a few rams maybe in the system as well. But, you know, 80, 90, again, this is what I would be doing on my system. Okay, I'm not telling you to go and do this. It all depends. It's a very complex question. We also have done a bit of consulting here in the past. So if we can help you with that, you can get a hold of me through the website, birchfieldfarms.com. I think we have very reasonable rates. I really just have a heart for getting people off the ground and doing this, and just experiencing the joy of ruminants on grass, healthy meat, using what we have here in this country, which is really great pasture. That's what we've got here on the farm as well. So anyhow, I hope that gives you a start, a place to dig your heels in, take away what you can here, and certainly let the rest fall away. If I can help you, get in touch with me. Thank you for hanging out with us today. Sheep are moved, everybody's looking good. And be at peace today, be blessed, and we'll talk to you next time. Take care.